sorry I could not impress you guys with my taco choice, but I am super, super excited to be here. I can't believe you guys showed up on a Friday, the last presentation. I've sort of been campaigning for myself during lunch, so thank you for those of you who showed up for me. I appreciate it. I actually got inspired to participate today because we had a product marketing summit back in November in Chicago at Morningstar headquarters, which is also where I work. At Morningstar, our mission is to empower investor success. So I will not be empowering your success as investors, but I'm hoping to pull from my experience as a product marketer to empower your product marketing success. So one of the things that I noticed when I was sitting through presentations back in Chicago was, oh my gosh, we are all in this together and we all have so many common pain points. And so I felt better about that because it wasn't about me or my team or my company. It's just the nature of this field that we're in. So that made me feel good. And it also made me want to share how I sort of navigate through these challenges in my day-to-day life. So I identified kind of 4 key areas of friction. I included fun pop culture references because I want to maintain your attention as much as I can, knowing that it's really warm out and it's a Friday, so hopefully you guys enjoy those. But I'll go through these really quickly. So building product knowledge can be a challenge, particularly if you're joining a new firm in a new industry that's unfamiliar to you. Clarifying roles and responsibilities and perceptions, challenging perceptions of what marketing and product marketing is. Navigating a highly collaborative environment and then attributing business impact back to marketing. With a show of hands, how many of these resonate with you guys? Okay, so almost all of you. Perfect. Then I'm glad I chose those 4. So we'll go right into product knowledge and technical skill. So at Morningstar, I support an investment analysis platforms for sophisticated financial professionals. I do not have my CFP. I don't have a financial background. And I had been at Morningstar for a couple of years before we sort of reorged and formed a product marketing function. And I knew a little bit about the product, but not too much. And so it was a little bit intimidating for me, knowing this audience, how sophisticated and intelligent they were, and understanding that I was kind of responsible for understanding their pain points. So there are a couple of things that I did to make myself feel more comfortable in this role. First thing I did is I tried to befriend a few sellers. And so this is super, I know there's some tension with product marketing and sales, but you gotta have a few friendlies. So the first thing I did is I identified who those folks were that were more open to me asking questions, and I asked them to do a sales pitch to me. So that meant I kind of understood the story that they were telling. Now that didn't mean, okay, great, they just did my job for me. I know the story, I understand it. No, that was a starting point for me to see what the current status was. The next thing I did was talk to product. So I wanted to understand, for us, previously the tagline was Morningstar Direct is everything Morningstar. And I wanted to understand, what does that actually mean? Why did we have that tagline? Why did we build this thing in the first place? How did it evolve? What's the vision for the future? And why? So what feedback did the customers give us to lead us in this direction? And so then I kind of had enough of an idea to reach out to our internal training team and say, okay, this is roughly what I see come up in these conversations, and this is really what I want to focus on. Can you show me how to do X, Y, Z? I know some of you might not have, a well-oiled internal training team. That's fine. Ask whoever knows the product to help you out. There's a lot of self-service documents. You can also take a look at those, but start somewhere. And it's really important to understand what you need to know and what you don't need to know. So there's a lot you can do in this tool that I'm a product marketing person for. However, there's methodologies behind all of these sophisticated analysis things that we can do. I don't have to know the methodology behind it, right? If I wanted to know like inside and out everything, I would never be able to go home. So understand when it's enough and when you can kind of move forward. And then learn the tool as much as you need to know the tool. Next thing is test yourself. So offer to share your knowledge with other marketers. I remember when I thought that I completely understood everything and I was so excited, and I went to the digital marketing team and I was like, all right, let me tell you about our customers and our product. And I started talking and they started asking questions, and then we were both confused. And I had to go back to the drawing board because I realized that I didn't truly understand. And I've seen this come up several times in these presentations about simplicity and making sure that you can communicate something easily to folks. So the last thing, and this of course doesn't have to go in the order that I sort of applied it, but meet your customers. Know who these people are, understand them, talk to them. So again, I keep going back to, this was challenging for me. I'm not a finance person. I thought of these people as really very intelligent, and I was intimidated. But when I got the chance to go out and speak to them, I realized it sort of humanized their pain points for me, and it made me connect to them more. And so I didn't feel like these people are a lot smarter than me. I just felt like, hey, these people have a job to do, and I can be a part of making that easier for them. And so I think these things helped me kind of ramp up, but again, you can go through them in any order that you want. The other thing, and I included the Tesla demo in there. Someone had mentioned earlier that like things go kind of wonky when you're doing demos and presentations. That's totally fine. Don't be intimidated by that. Has nothing to do with your kind of product knowledge. Those things happen. Just learn to prepare as much as possible and not sort of panic when those things happen. So roles and responsibilities. Aren't we on the same team? I included an image of the Women's World Cup over here. They won together, but there was still some individuality there, right? So people had a specific role. You were a goalie, you were defense, you were forward, and all of that makes, for a win. So the number one thing that we did is, and I mentioned product marketing as like a well-oiled function was somewhat new to our company. So there was a lot of change. I started in a generalist capacity. I was doing a little bit of social. I was doing a little bit of writing. I was working in our marketing automation platform, doing email campaigns, so kind of everything. And that all changed, right? Then we had a digital team. We had an email marketing team that was specifically focused on that, and I was no longer doing that. So initially it felt like you're taking something away from me, and I had a mentor at Morningstar tell me like, no, this is just your opportunity to learn something new and add value in different areas of the business. And then, of course, writing that out really helps. Not just communicating about it, but actually physically writing it is super, super important. And again, someone mentioned it in an earlier presentation. Product marketing is so different across, different companies and industries. Just figure out what it means to your organization. Then understand what others are responsible for as well. So if Jenna is always on Facebook and you're like, how is she still here? Maybe Jenna's role is social media. and that's totally fine. And maybe you guys have a Jenna, but maybe there's a Tim out there who's literally never in the office and you're like, oh my God, what is he doing all day and how does he get away with this? I want to be on his team. Well, maybe he's customer facing. Maybe his role has changed and he's out there meeting customers. So don't kind of prejudge the situation. Understand what people are good at and how they can add value. And then develop a team charter. And I know, ew. I thought the same thing. I came back from a vacation and like my team was talking about making a team charter and I was like, oh, come on. Like this is so fluffy. But once I got involved in the process, it really worked. So it's essentially a rules of engagement or a code of conduct. You list out what people are responsible for, how they work together to complete it, and then what your sort of shared goals are. And just coming in a room together and actually talking about this makes a huge difference because then you can openly say like, yes, this has been a challenge for us and handing off at this point doesn't really make sense. And this is sort of what the outcome should look like. And it's actually super, super helpful to get everyone on the same page. Also, when you're in, for me, product marketing was new, right? And so all of a sudden we were meeting with product and we were meeting with sales and we were in the room with customer service and we wanted to get our, in the executive meetings and we were super involved and pushing our way through, and people were really like confused. Like, are you guys gonna make a fact sheet or what? Like, why are you here? And so we had to kind of showcase, like, if we're responsible for telling a story, then tell that story really, really well and show what that means. And, someone mentioned it again in a previous presentation, like, showcase your work. No one's gonna do it for you, but that'll help get the message across. Collaborating with multiple stakeholders. I absolutely love working with people. I knew that I was going to do marketing because I know that was inherent to marketing, and I love meeting new people. I love sharing ideas, so that's kind of necessary for my professional life. But it can be challenging, even for me, which is someone who really loves working with people. So the number one thing is anticipate conflict. Don't find ways to, don't find a team where it doesn't exist, or a company that it doesn't exist, or a relationship where it doesn't exist. It's gonna exist. Just become comfortable with that and use it as an opportunity to develop poise and diplomacy, right? It can prepare you really for a career in politics. Figure out how to manage situations in a way that is gonna make people kind of respect you and trust you with sensitive situations and projects. So use it as sort of practice for life, right? The next thing is have empathy. So, and my manager loves to talk about empathy in product marketing, empathy for our customers and empathy for our internal customers as well, which is the people that we collaborate with. So if someone is not responding to your email, or you have a deliverable that's kind of running late because of someone, or they're not getting up, they're not calling you back or not emailing you back, whatever's happening, or maybe someone sent you a nasty email. We've all been there, right? Have empathy. Recognize that people have things going on in their personal lives. Recognize that there are other priorities that people are responsible for, and take a step back. And trust me, I've gotten like a passive-aggressive email, and I've written like a masterpiece comeback. Like I spent way too much time being like, oh, this is like just subtle enough, but it'll get the point across, and I'm like so proud. Don't send it. Anytime I've sent something like this, I regretted it, and over time, I don't send these things anymore. I try to diffuse situations and kind of align people back on track. And the way you can do this is focus on facts and data, right? So you have someone who's telling you, we gotta do this event. No, I wanna do like a physical event. No, I wanna do a webinar. Okay, well, who can tell me what's the return on investment with a webinar versus a physical event? How much budget is used for a physical event versus a webinar? How much time does it take? How many resources does it take? Okay, and use data to kind of guide your decision, not just opinions. The other thing is focus on facts to orient yourself, right? So if you're gonna do this physical event and you need to complete your speaking submission, whatever it is, by this date, use that date to guide you. Not like, hey, arbitrarily, I need this because I like to get things done 2 months in advance. No, this is like stopgap, right? This is the date you need it done, and just focus on that. The other thing is to align to a common goal. Again, like try to focus on what you're all responsible for and diffuse some of the interpersonal conflict, right? Because you're all on the same team, even if there are too many cooks in the kitchen. So this is one of my favorite things to talk about. Attribution. Marketing attribution is super challenging. And so I mentioned I spent 2 years in more of a generalist capacity, and then about 2.5 years in product marketing. And I was there with the Excel spreadsheets, right? And I was there not getting having to do multiple projects and not even having time to go back and see how those things performed. And I know it's tough, and we don't all have the tools to help us, or we don't have, headcount to help us with that stuff, but you have to do it. And if you don't know, and you have to measure yourself in some way. And if you don't, if it's new, you don't have a ton of data, start somewhere. You can Google benchmarks. Gartner has benchmarks for all sorts of things across different industries. Start somewhere, and then once you start running campaigns, testing and learning, then you'll have some of your own data to kind of make it a little bit more applicable to whatever you're doing. The other thing is, I know that there's points where we don't have all those tools and we're sort of having to piecemeal things together. That's fine to a point, but as much as you can, invest in a foundation, invest in the tools and the technology, invest in the people and the teams. We use Tableau now. And so we connect our Salesforce data and our Eloqua, which is our marketing automation platform data, and it all comes up through Tableau, and we have beautiful reports, and we know our conversion rates, and we know how many marketing qualified leads we have, and we know how many wins we can attribute back to marketing in which specific campaigns. And it is such a game changer. It's so, so important. We also have the people, right? So we have sort of center of excellence, which is our marketing operations team, and we have marketing analysts or marketing data scientists. They're called different things at different companies, but those people are so incredibly helpful. They really change things for us because having access to that data and being able to tell our story through numbers, and of course, Morningstar is a data numbers driven organization, is super, super important. But I have to say, go through this process slowly. Don't just listen to a sales pitch and then purchase something because you need it. Think about whether or not it makes sense. And when you're building these things up, even if it's a team, technology, whatever, do it right. Build that foundation, because if you try to put things together in haste, you're going to have a lot of problems later, and it's garbage data in and garbage data out. So really take your time to do this. Share your wins. So the ability to have, a way to measure and to attribute your success as a business back to some of the marketing tactics is super important, but you have to share it out. You have to get it to the highest levels of your organization. It has to be shared with the CEO. It has to be shared with the CRO, Chief Product Officer, Chief Marketing Officer. Let everybody know that your team is killing it, because, you'll get a lot of doors opening for you if you can make sure that the right people know the value that you're adding. So in our organization, once we were able to kind of ramp up, have clear goals, measure against our goals, prove that we've kind of exceeded our goals, we made a big deal about that. And this year we have a lot more budget and we have a lot more headcount. And so we're going to be able to do a lot more and continue to add value and let every layer of the organization know what we could do. I remember when I started, when I went to college and I told my parents I'm going to do marketing, they're really concerned because they're like, okay, well, you're going to get laid off at some point because marketing is the first to go, right? And yeah, they're kind of right, but at the same time, not so right anymore, right? Because we have the tools now that we can actually share our success, and we can show what the business impact would be if we were to not be in the organization anymore. So it's super, super important. And that kind of wraps up my presentation. So we talked about challenges in getting product expertise. We talked about understanding and clarifying roles and responsibilities. We talked about navigating a highly complex environment. And we talked about attributing business impact back to marketing. So it's been a pleasure listening to everybody's presentation. I found a lot of great insights that I'm happy to bring home. And I know most of you are probably excited to get out in the sun. So if we didn't get a chance to connect at this conference, feel free to reach out to me. I included my email, giant picture of my face, but thank you again.
Any questions? Well, that was great. I think you're right. Everybody does want sunshine. I feel weird closing it because it's not really my conference, but it's been an honor to hang out with you guys all day today. I feel like I'm with my people. And the one little thing I want to leave everybody with is I was doing some research on listening for a different project, and I just pulled it up because it says that within 8 hours, you will typically forget 50% of what you heard. So I just encourage everybody tonight, maybe jot down a couple things that were really, really great you heard, because otherwise you might forget them. And thanks for being here, and have a good day.